is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we are going to continue on the bug, getting it prepped for Bugaraama. This was kind of the last probably week and a half or so of work done to the car. I made a ton of progress on it, so kind of didn't really have time to work on it, but ended up spending like 2 or 3 super late nights working on it. Didn't end up going to bed until 4 o'clock in the morning. So a couple long nights on it, little bits and pieces here and there. I do have about 3/4 of a video done on Ryan's car. A ton of progress has been going on with this one, but we will hop into Bugaraama prep and I'll show you how the bug turned out. Hope you guys enjoy. After a bunch of little tabs and everything, went ahead and got everything primed up. So you can see that some of it is black. Basically sprayed it black just to kind of see what it was going to look like. But everything looks pretty darn good. Everything's primed up. Self-etch primer. Got it all taped off. Now it's time to paint this thing. It's roughly 2 weeks before Bugaraama, so it's time to start making this car look pretty. Basically on crunch time at the moment, trying to get this car done at least to a point where I'm happy with it. It needs to kind of go along with a couple more things to get it further along. So starting to look a whole heck of a lot better. Everything's where it needs to be. Everything bolts in where it needs to be. There's a bunch of little tiny tabs everywhere that serve a purpose for one thing or another. So it's looking pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and start painting this thing. Well, the black turned out really good. As you saw, I clear coated it. First coat of clear. So it looks really good. Nice and black. Until, let's find a spot where you can see it pretty good. Until it hits sunlight. So went ahead and did like a holographic effect on it. Some rainbow flake. Turned out really, really, really good. Everything is nice and uniform. Everything looks good. There's a couple touch-up spots that I have to do, but I'm not going to be able to do that with the body on. So when I pull the body off to paint the rest of the cage, then I'll hit those touch-up spots. I'll just fine sand and touch up some of the black in a couple spots, and then we'll hit it with another rainbow coat and then another probably 2 layers of clear over the whole thing. That way it all turns out nice and good. But I am extremely satisfied with this. It looks incredible. Now that this is painted, we'll go ahead and let this sit for overnight, possibly tomorrow as well, and then we'll go ahead and start slapping all of the parts back in here. So let's go ahead and throw a coat of actual clear on this, and then we will get piecing everything back together. Clear coat is on. There's actually probably a couple layers on this. It's all nice and thick. Everything turned out really nice. Everything's super glossy. It actually brought out the flake in it a lot more. So now you can kind of really tell how flaky it is. Everything looks absolutely amazing. So we'll let this dry. There are a couple dust nibs and stuff like that. I'm not super worried about it at the moment. I'll probably end up lightly sanding the very obvious ones. Probably like this one right here. Go ahead and sand that out, and then we'll re-clear coat. Like I said on touch-up stuff, you can see I didn't get the backside of this bar. And I missed a spot up here on the battery tray, but it's completely all right. Like I said earlier, once I pull the body off, I can get to all those spots a lot easier. But other than that, I am extremely happy with how this turned out. So you can see there's a couple more dust nibs over here, but like I said, not too worried about it. I'm just happy that it's painted, it's done, it's ready. So now the rest of these, probably 2 weeks or so, we'll start digging into getting the floor stuff set up in the bug, start finishing off some body work. I'm hoping to get the rear fenders done. I don't think I'm gonna get to the front fenders, but should be all right. So if we get to them, we get to them. If not, I'm not super worried about it, especially since all of this is painted and it's kind of going to be a showpiece just because everything is so different on the front of this. But extremely happy. We'll go ahead and start putting it together in the next clip. jumped ahead a little bit, kind of finished putting everything back together. Kind of figured you guys didn't need to see every single piece go back on the car, but everything's starting to look really, 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 really good. Getting the suspension fixed back up. Unfortunately, I did get overspray on the suspension, and there's a couple chips and stuff like that. I don't have time to respray it, but yeah, probably after Bugaraama, I'll pull apart the suspension, respray it. Same thing with the strut bar up top. It's all gross and dirty. I might try and wet sand it to try and get that top coat of yuck off of it. I'll probably end up doing the same here with the overspray. But everything up front is good. I still have to dig around wiring a little bit. There's fuel in it. The ice box is full of coolant. Ran the pump, got all the air bubbles out, all of that. So you can see the lines come back here. That one goes back to the actual water to air intercooler. And then that one loops down, runs across into the pump. The pump is underneath. And then that goes up to the bottom of the tank. You might be wondering what this line is. So when I originally set up the water to air intercooler system, I had, I feel like it wasn't pushing coolant through it. So pretty sure it had an air pocket in the actual intercooler up front here, and in the actual intercooler as well. So went ahead and looped this line up, put it into the tank. I can unscrew that peacock, and it will, you can actually see that there's coolant inside of that tube right now. Crack that open, turn on the pump, and it actually pushes all of the air bubbles and everything up and out, which is kind of nice. I have kind of the same deal on the rear. Back here is all still kind of a mess, but have the remote fill here, and then you can see back here I have this clear hose that runs from here, from the back of there, and then goes into the top of the tank there. And then you notice there's a bung right back here. That is a temperature bung, so I should be able to tell temperature and stuff like that. I also got a oil pressure and another temperature bung down there on the oil system. So now I have oil pressure and oil temp. Got the door kind of fitted up. With the way that the bug sits, you can see the large door gap here. So I have to take the actual claw bracket in there and push it out this way. So I'm going to just probably put a couple spacers in that for now. The reason the door gap is so big is when I do the carbon actually lays in between these. So that'll close up that door gap. Eventually I will cut that section of the B-pillar out and push that out. That way it all sits correctly. Also went ahead and started painting the rest of the cage with rattle can. I still got a couple bars and stuff like that, but it's all looking really, really good. Got the harnesses back in, got the seat in. Also, started carpeting everything. So everything's looking good. One thing that I did off camera was the steering wheel and finished off the glove box. So the glove box is all nice and clear coated and pretty. The steering wheel is awfully cool, so I'll show you guys that. That was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. Of course, it's all dirty at the moment, but I'm gonna end up redoing the leather because I have a weird hump here and I don't like how these sit bumped up like this, so I'll end up pulling the red off later and then cutting a notch in here, fixing this section here. But got the carbon on top, and then of course it's dirty. Got the forged carbon in the center, so it looks really good. It matches the harnesses pretty well. I got a flat panel in here, still have to screw it in, got the wideband in there. So a lot has gone on in the last probably 2 nights. So got a lot more to do, but should be set and ready to go. The garage is a disaster, of course, but I will probably be pulling the bug out here in a little while and start getting everything set up. The rest of this week will probably consist of body work and getting the outside of the car painted gray again, touch up some of, you know, the ugly stuff like that, get all that stuff sanded out. Same thing with the door. I'll spray the door black, get the side scoop on there. So I want to try and get as much body work done as I can. I don't know if I'm going to run the hood or not. And I don't know if I'm going to run the rear fender, just because I don't have the driver side done one yet, but we'll get to that shortly. So let's go ahead and finish this thing up and get it out of the garage and ready. Well guys, that's all I have for you this week. I'll give you a further walk around on the bug in an upcoming video. I'm still kind of finishing a couple bits and pieces here and there. It is extremely close to being roadworthy. Probably going to finish off the fenders and raise the car up a little bit, wire in some headlights, taillights, couple other little bits, and I think I'm probably going to drive it for the summer. So we'll get into that stuff here in a little bit. Main focus is on Ryan's car at the moment. I want to try and get this done and back to him, but we'll get some good video stuff on the bug coming shortly. I think we'll probably save the rest of the bodywork and the paint and everything for the winter time, but I'm tired of not being able to drive the car, so we might as well set it up and get it on the road. That way we can enjoy the car for the summer. So check back next week for a Ryan's car video, and we will get into both of the projects. So until the next one, peace out guys.